Swinging a ground ball, stabbed by Folk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions for the first time in 86 years.
Together they have, and together they stand alone on top of the mountain for now. And once again, the Boston Celtics stand alone for all time. It is banner 18.
No icing. For the first time in 39 years, the Boston Bruins have won the Stanley Cup.
And a title for the Patriots!
I can't believe it!
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Good morning, listeners. Welcome into episode 52 of a New Era podcast. My name is Hanson, better known as Fryddy Online, and I am joined this morning by my dad and co-host, the OG Frid. Dad, would you like to say hello to the listeners?
Good morning. Hello, listeners, on this special New Year's Eve broadcast.
Yep. New Year's Eve. This is now second week in a row we've done it on a holiday, I guess. Christmas Eve isn't really like a... Christmas is the holiday. Christmas Eve isn't a holiday, but it kind of is. Do you consider it a holiday?
No, but it's that excitement towards, it's almost a 2-day holiday.
It is. I thought about that.
Actually, though, I think Christmas Eve should probably be listed as a holiday for men going out to buy last minute gifts, which I kind of did. One of Mom's last gifts, but that was bought like in the wee hour. It didn't show up until Christmas Eve, but I kind of did it like almost the day before through Amazon. Unfortunately, we got it earlier.
It's kind of the same.
I was tracking it. It was supposed to be in at like 10 o'clock at night.
It's kind of the same thing with like New Year's. I feel like New Year's is actually like the holiday, like January 1st. But I feel like New Year's Eve is the bigger day. That's the celebration. You get off the first because you're hungover from the 31st.
Exactly.
But I don't feel like anybody really cares about the first. I feel like everybody looks forward to December 31st and everything you do. And then that holiday kind of ends at 2, 3 once you stop celebrating. And then you just happen to have the next day off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
You should say 2, 3 a.m., right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, not 2 or 3 during the afternoon on New Year's Eve.
Oh, fuck no. No, on New Year's at that point. See, now we're getting confused. Something to think about. We don't just talk sports on this podcast, I guess. We talk about holidays. All right. Important week for New England sports. The biggest news of it being the Patriots have now moved into the number 1 overall spot for the NFL draft in a couple of months. And we are 1 week away from securing that spot and being on the clock throughout, the whole playoffs and everything. That I'll ask you first, because I'm seeing a lot of people get worried about the fact that, it's so awesome. We're finally back in for the number 1 pick. But a lot of people are thinking we're going to do what the Giants did this last week and miraculously pull out a win against the Bills. And we've talked about this game against the Bills a couple times this season, and especially last week after, the first meeting between us. Do you see the Patriots fucking this up and accidentally winning this game? I think we play on Sunday this time. Accidentally winning this game on Sunday and moving us down. Now, granted, I think worst case scenario, we are still locked in for a number 5 pick. I don't know where it would move us. I think it depends on what, the Titans, the Giants, the Browns do and all those fucking teams. But there is a possibility we could move down to 5. Do you think the Patriots screwed up and win this game? Or do you think they know what's going on there? Mayo knows what's going on there. Drake May potentially sits, and this is a Joe Milton game to really secure that number 1 pick.
Obviously, that would be, you put Joe Milton in, and that is huge signs for tankathon there for the number one pick. Not saying, the kid could show some stuff and some legs, and obviously he throws, 70 yards in the air, but he's not going to be able to throw those, quick slants that is part of AVP's game plan. I would absolutely love to see him play, to see what we have in him as your backup going in case Drake, ends up running again and potentially gets another little concussion. I kind of wish that he finished up the game this past week instead of putting Jacoby in. But I don't think we find a way to win because I don't think Gerard Mayo has the coaching ability to even find a way to win. I think you could put Drake May in a quarter, first half, and we might be in the lead, and then you put Joe, and he'll just make decisions to have them lose the game. I don't. Player perspective. I mean, first and foremost, you're out with. You don't have Christian Gonzalez. He's concussion protocol, so he's out. So your DBs are gonna look lost again, like they did so many times this year, and especially this, later part after Christian was out against the Chargers. I mean, the defense alone can't keep up.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. That was you really came for fucking Gerard Mayo's neck there. I know we just had this whole conversation about him potentially leaving, but it's not going to happen. So I think we should, not go down that path anymore. The report came out that he's most likely staying.
I know, but I think it's an absolute mistake. I think when you have the ability to, because I was up this morning just watching all these little broadcasts, NBC Sports, Boston Sports about it, and you are obviously, young staff, first year with your defensive coordinator and stuff, and that took a step back. I guess you could make a change there, but you really don't want to make a change in your offensive coordinator next year and have Drake regress. And then the thought is, if we do another 3-13 or go worse, or I'm sorry, 3-14 or even go worse, then is Gerard fired after that year, and you don't have a chance for Mike Vrabel, and who's going to be there then?
I think you're falling in love with Mike Vrabel too much. Believe me, yes, I would like.
I wanted that at the beginning.
I know you did, but I feel like if the Kraft family and everything is committed to Mayo here, they've got to see something. They've got to feel like all of this is not on him. Well, yes, we've pinpointed a lot of mistakes and slip-ups and missed calls and bad coaching decisions on him. It's not to say that he doesn't have, a great team around him. We know that. The team is not good. There's Drake offensively making everything else happen. We were never expecting to compete. So I don't get going after Mayo's neck here, knowing that we were not going to compete, knowing that this was going to be a rebuilding year. And then we're yet pissed off with 3-14 and number one overall pick. It's like you can't have it both ways. It's either you wanted to compete and wanted to be good with Mayo and wanted to see light of something, or you wanted to commit and know that this was a rebuild and build around Drake and get a good draft pick. And that's what he did. He put us in the position to rebuild and get this number one pick here.
And yes, this team was not built to ever produce a 500 season. I admit to that. I just don't see long term, is this the guy to drive us 3 to 4 years from now to get us into that winning? Now, I was doing a lot of soul searching and remembering. I mean, he was a leader on the field. He was never a fiery guy, as I recall, as a defender. But he led as the middle linebacker, made the decisions and all. Maybe, and yes, Bill was never a fiery guy either, but maybe I was just looking for, in this new era, no pun intended, but something different from the Belichick, just stoic, just stand. I mean, I don't see any passion, any excitement. And I'm afraid he's lost the locker room.
I don't think so. I think we're talking a lot of just extra stuff with him here. Like I said, I don't think you could have had it both ways. I think we knew what we were having here. I think he knew what he had. He could have been. Let's not forget. All right, Bill Belichick also went 3-14 last year. Okay, with a generally same roster outside of Drake May. No matter how good Jerron Mayo was going to be as a coach, you could not turn around this piece of shit roster on paper. You couldn't. You could not have turned this team into a winning team this year. Nobody could have. Maybe if Drake May starts from the start of the season, you're looking at 5-12 instead of what looks to be 3-14. But you're right. This was never going to be a 500 team. This was never probably going to be a 7-10 team. You give them a first year. You let them learn what it is to, be at rock bottom as a coach with your team. You try to build that connection between him and his quarterback in the offseason. And you try to build around it and see what he can do with some more firepower on the team. I don't know. I don't find it. While I don't think he is the best coach and the best coaching option we could have had, I don't find it fair to pin everything on Mayo too, because this is a terrible situation in New England regardless. And the only person that I think I would go after this offseason that would be able to completely flip that around in a year would not be Mike Vrabel. It would be Ben Johnson. And we've talked about that. If Ben Johnson's available and if Ben Johnson is willing to sign, that's where you cut Mayo loose. Even if you may feel like it's too early. But if Ben goes to Chicago, like I most likely believe he will, with Caleb Williams up there and in the division, gets a lot of money from Chicago, then I don't think you force something else, because you already forced the Mayo head coach signing last year. I think you need to give it some time. And not to mention, you say lost the locker room. I don't think it's lost the locker room. People, all the players and everything, have admitted that he's been a player's coach all year, because of the fact that he was an ex-player. And what does that do in terms of Drake May's confidence? I think that's the only thing you need to worry about. You bring in a new head coach, he tries to get connected with Mayo and boom, gone after you played 12 games with him. Now, okay, I got to worry about a new head coach coming in. He's not going to get rid of my spot as a quarterback. I'm not going to lose my job, but new coach comes in, probably fires the offensive and defensive coordinator as well. Nice. Now, second year, I'm going in with a new offensive coordinator. This is now my third offensive coordinator in 3 years dating back to college. I have to relearn probably a whole new system, along with trying to learn how to integrate any new weapons that we take from the draft into the offense as well and build chemistry. Oh, and then that chemistry that you thought you built with Kayshon Boutte and Jalen Polk and everything throughout this first year, that's completely wiped because now they're playing in a completely different spot. they're probably getting kicked down the depth chart by whoever else we bring in free agency or whatever else. I think it's a domino effect of more bad stuff. And I don't think it's entirely fair to go after Mayo. Granted, can I say I'm 100% happy with the decision to keep him? No, but I think it's better than the option of shaking everything up going into year 2 for Drake.
Well, first and foremost, if we do keep the management and the staff together, with this quarterback that we have, and now the potential number 1, we are a whole lot better organization than the Bears, the Giants, the Jets, which just has problems even in ownership and upper management. Say what you want about the Crafts and how they potentially handled the decision to have Mayo as the successor, and unfortunately not learn more under Bill, but then we would have still had that old Patriots way, which we thought was going to occur. I don't think it is going to be the same Patriots way.
All right. So before we move on from the Pats in the number 1 pick, obviously, if you're paying attention to any bit of Patriots media, since we have been slotted into this number 1 slot, everybody's talking about what can we get for this, the trade down. And I think, Lord willing, the freaking front office knows this as well. This is the move that needs to happen. We most likely can get Travis, if that's who they're trying to eye, at a 3 or 4 as well, because of the fact that right behind us at 2 is Tennessee, and right behind us right behind them at 3 is Cleveland, along with 4 being the Giants. And you can go and assume 2 out of those 3, if not all 3, are going to try to look to get quarterbacks. Based off of how this quarterback class is, you most likely, if you trade with the Patriots, you have your ticket to Shedeur Sanders, probably. I don't think you trade up unless if you're looking to get Cam Ward. But quite frankly, that shit that Cam Ward pulled in that Pop-Tarts Bowl, I don't think you're trading up for number 1 for him anyways. So this is the ticket to Shedeur. Or if you want to, fuck the Patriots and jump ahead of them and take Travis Hunter, so be it, go ahead. This is your ticket to one of the 2 Colorado boys. This is your ticket to Dion being in your ear the whole time as well, for however long this rookie contract is and however long they stay. But these teams ahead of us or behind us really need a quarterback.
Yeah.
History shows, I'm pulling this up from Nesson, we've had a couple trades for the number 1 pick within the last 10 years. Only 2, actually, in the last 10, I believe. Most recent one, obviously, being last year for Caleb. Carolina acquired the number 1 pick and drafted Bryce Young. The Bears landed DJ Moore, number 9 pick. Carolina's 2024 first-round pick. So this is 2 years ago because Bryce Young there. Carolina's 2024 first-round pick and Carolina's 2025 second-round pick. And then the Bears ended up trading those picks as well to move back. And then back in 2016, the Titans and the Rams for Jared Goff. Rams acquired number 1 from the Titans. LA also acquired a 2016 4th-rounder and 6th-rounder. Meanwhile, Tennessee received LA's 2016 first-round pick. So I think they moved back. I don't know where this was in there, but Corey Coleman. So I think that was in the teens. 2 second-round picks in 2016, a 2016 third-rounder, and a 2017 first-round pick as well as a 2017 third-round pick. And then the last one, I see in 2001, Chargers landed number 1 pick. A couple years after they selected Ryan Leaf second overall in 1998, Falcons acquired top selection and drafted Michael Vick. In doing so, San Diego acquired 1 player and 3 picks, which included wide receiver Tim Dwight, 2001 first-round pick number 5, which turned into LaDainian Tomlinson, a 2001 third-round pick, and a 2002 second-round pick. All this to say, we should be getting a haul. I don't know if it's the haul of Chicago and Carolina, because I think all of us know after that deal was done. Now, granted, Chicago and Caleb not looking as great as they would hope that trade would have made them, but that was very pricey. I think it's probably something in between there and the Goff deal. And I think we talked about this last week with a moving back in a first this year, probably a first next year, and then either a second this year, next year, and then you probably give them back a fourth or a fifth or something like that. Which team out of the 3, Tennessee, Cleveland, or New York, do you really see making this happen, pulling the trigger on this deal to go get their guy? And then if so, do you like the position that would put us in moving back?
Well, first, I was listening to not First Take. What is it? First Comes First, or the Fox one?
First things first.
First things first.
Are you going to bring up the Nick Wright thing?
About
Shador?
That was the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Dumbest fucking thing ever. For those of you that don't know, I have it up because I was going to bring it up. Nick Wright tweeted this out on the 29th. I think this was after he said it on First Things First. It was at like 4:30 2 days ago. He goes, a not totally insane scenario. The Patriots fall in love with Shador, and instead of trading the number 1 pick, they trade Drake for a top 5 pick. They could then potentially draft Shador and Travis, and then for the hell of it, fire Mayo and hire Dion. What do you say? This is also the guy that is literally just, I hate Nick Wright. Huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, and he shoves it down your throat. About how Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time, blah, blah. And he's always hated the Patriots. And now he's just coming up with these crazy scenarios that would never happen. Why take Shador when Drake May is going to be better? I'm sorry, I'll say that right now. I mean, we said it in the draft class this last year. Drake was the best coming out of that draft class. If Drake May was in this 2025 draft class, he would be the consensus number 1 pick. There wouldn't be is Shador, Cam Ward, is that he would be the consensus number 1 by a mile. He would be very easily QB1 in this class. We're not going after Shador here. That is so stupid.
I wouldn't mind a scenario, and I guess it has to be with Tennessee. Do they love Shador over Cam Ward? And the reasoning is obviously one of the other teams, be it the Giants, the Raiders, could want to get, Shador. If everyone loves Shador, it would be awesome if the Titans want to move up just 1 spot, and then we get the Titans number 2, and then be able to trade the number 2 as well for something.
Yeah. I was
thinking
the same thing.
Yeah, so you get, Titans, the number 2 pick, Now, is it going to be a huge haul to move up one? You know, do you get the Titans number one next year as well?
Yes.
Probably.
It still
not.
needs to be. Yes. No, don't. It is.
Okay.
It's the number one
So say
overall
you
pick.
get-
You still pay a lot for making that move. If the front
Right.
office knows what they're doing here, you don't just give this up to be nice to Tennessee. No.
I'm not
have the
saying
golden
that,
ticket
but
for them.
so what would be awesome then is you get there number one and maybe not a 2, but you get a 3 this year as well. Okay. So then you go down to 2 and then you trade 2 to the Giants or the Raiders, preferably the Giants, for their number one and a 2.
I think we're getting a little too excited for that. But I think what's probably the most likely scenario. I don't think it's with Tennessee. Because I think Tennessee's at the point. I think you're right. They will take either. And what it comes down to, you know, and when you're talking about, oh, is it going to take that much to move up from 2 to 1? It's not. Is it? It's not. Are you paying that much to move up from 2 to 1? It's. Are you paying that much to make sure you don't get jumped by the Browns or the Giants that do take that one? That's what you're paying for. You're not paying just to move up one spot. I think what ends up happening, I think the Giants are the ones who end up paying the highest price. So I think we move down to 4. And 4 is a good spot because then, you know, you got Shador and Cam that are probably going 1-2. Cleveland could then decide, you know, is it Jalen Milroe at 3? Is it Travis Hunter at 3? Whatever it is, even if Hunter goes at 3 there, while half of the Patriots fans have fallen in love with Travis Hunter and the idea of him in New England, I'm fine with that because then you have your pick of either McMillan, who is, you know, Megatron reincarnated here. It's 6'5", 220 or whatever he is. He's fucking huge. I don't know if you take him at 4, but that's probably where you look to trade down, or you get your selection of the first offensive lineman to go off the board. If it's Will Campbell, if it's Kelvin Banks, whoever it may be. But I think you move down to 4, you see who's available. Hopefully, and here's just my gut feeling, Shador will go within one of the top 3 picks. I don't know if Cam Ward will. So you got to hope maybe then at 4, Cam or Jalen Milroe is still on the board there. Now, granted, yes, that means you miss out on Travis Hunter. But then I think the Jets and the Raiders start calling to move from 8 and 7 up to 4 to take one of those guys. I think you take that move, you get more picks from either one of those teams, and then you go for Will Campbell, and you most likely try to get a second first-round pick somewhere over here. The only thing is, I don't know which teams have them. I don't think they do. Let's see. Teams with multiple first-round picks 2025. Let's figure this out.
I don't think there is.
No, every single team has their first-round pick.
Yeah.
So there's no, yeah. So you're only looking for seconds then. I don't know. That hurts a little bit. I would have loved to see a team with 2 firsts. But you know, you can go look into round 2 if maybe you're there at 4, and then maybe it's not the Jets or the Raiders that come calling, but maybe it's the Bears that want to pair Travis Hunter and Caleb Williams together or something, and they want to move on from a Keenan Allen because he's getting older or something else there. You know, try to get some youth with a Travis Hunter, DJ Moore, and Rome Odunze there at your 3 receivers. They've got 37 and 40 in the second round because they have Carolina's pick. Maybe that's the one you want to take to get more depth. I don't know what it is. we'll see. But all of this to say, I think we're both on board with the idea. Lose on Sunday and take a haul for this pick.
You could take, in our scenario, multiple ways to move down, but get stuff this year, later round 2, 3, what have you, but also build for. I mean, you could end up having 3 number 1 picks potentially next year.
I think that's the big thing. You got to look to secure a number 1 and number 2 next year. Even though you got the number 1 pick this year, draft class is weaker compared to last year's. I think you have to know before you make any deal, you are not going to turn this team around in one offseason. This is a 2-year rebuild at the best. So don't shoot yourself in the foot by trying to take more picks in the 4th and later stuff this year and veteran on a expiring contract for this year when you could add picks for 2026 as well, high value picks there, and build for the next 2. I'm fine with enduring a 7 and 10 year next year or something if it means we have 2 first-round picks or 3 second-round picks to look forward to, and then really hit the ground running the year after that, right?
And I think positives too. You had mentioned this a while back. Our cap, we're going to have one of the most friendliest cap seasons going.
We have the most cap space available.
So able to get a T. Higgins, able to get players around wanting to come in because they saw how Drake May can play. I had some thought again, listening to someone about Travis Hunter, and I know I said a couple days ago or a couple podcasts ago, not really excited about the young man because of his build. He's not really going to be 2-way. I listened to someone, I was like, wow, it would be kind of cool having him and Christian Gonzalez. 2 shutdown. But do you want to take a number 3 pick on a cornerback defensively? I think we have to look offensively more.
Yeah. All right. Enough about the Pats. Let's move on here. Quick discussion on what's happening with the Celtics, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
This has been the first week that we've actually had to bring it up and be like, hey, is there something to worry about? As the Celtics, I think, have lost 3 out of the last 4. Yes, against the Magic, the 76ers on Christmas. Bad loss there after we said they were going to whoop up on them. You thought they'd get it back by beating the hell out of the Pacers on Friday. Jaylen Brown with an unbelievable game there. 44 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Peyton Pritchard has a double-double. This is all with Tatum going 22, 13, and 4. You beat that team by almost 40 points. And then you play them again at home on Sunday, and you lose that one. I don't know what's going on here, but we're now 5 games back from the Cavs, which happened very quickly. We know this Cavs team is not really losing games. And they've got decently, they play the Pacers twice coming up. They play the Thunder twice coming up. Lakers, Mavs, T-Wolves, Suns. I see some tough teams in here, but Cavs team is not losing many games. So you don't want this number 1 seed to, slip away from you a little too early. What's going on with the Celtics here? And when do you think they turn around?
Well, again, I said this a couple podcasts ago. Fortunately, I mean, it is your younger superstars or younger players. Well, not necessarily. Derek White is at 30, but a lot of basketball was played. Al Horford looks old very fast. And again, defensively, I mean, you've already lost 6 games on your home court, which should not happen, especially for defending champion.
What were we last year? Like 40-2 or something at home, or 39-2?
Yeah.
We were unbelievable at home last year, correct?
Yep.
Go on, though. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, it's the defense. There's just something missing. And it looks as if, again, the 3-point, they live and die by the 3. They can shoot it very well, don't get me wrong. But it's almost like, well, go ahead, get your 2 points, and I'm just going to hit a 3, so I'm always up. But if they're not making those defensive stops, even though you're hitting 3s against their 2s, you're keeping these teams in, and that's what they're doing. They're allowing these teams to stay in the game longer than they did last year.
And I mean, it was even stuff that we saw dating back to even throughout their playoff run, which was so frustrating. Now, granted, yes, it's kind of how the game has developed, and some people, you get a good move, you'll see a guy just kind of let you go up for the 2, not even really contest it, not looking to get a foul. But I mean, I can't tell you how frustrating it would be to see Tatum down there in the paint get crossed once, can probably go to try to get a block on the backside, but they kind of just let him through for the easy 2.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing that a lot more this year out of them.
Yep.
And it begs the question, is it more an effort thing from us defensively, or is it the other teams are starting to figure us out defensively? What they couldn't have done last year.
And the many switches that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think since we do switch a lot off of players defensively, and which probably had individuals, the other team's offensive wondering where the open man is or where is the matchup that I have. And granted, if you think you got the matchup against a 6'4", 6'5", Derek White, they can still guard anybody 1 through 5. It has to be a physical, just letting them do it. It's not the teams are figuring out how we play defensively. I think it's a lack of effort. It's an effort right now from us.
I think so too. I think it comes back to effort, and I think it'll get fixed. My only concern as of right now is if it's going to get fixed fast enough that it lets us maintain home court advantage throughout the playoffs. I wouldn't have worried about us getting the 1 seed. I still don't think we need to. I still don't think a team is beating us in a 7-game series while healthy in the playoffs, which we will be by that time. Porzingis is going to have his time off. But it certainly doesn't help that a Game 7 would be in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas coming into this year, I think we had the conversation about, yes, we're going to probably see Cleveland or Miami again or whoever it may be, but you probably still beat these teams in 5. You don't see these teams beating them more than once, potentially twice. Now I could see one of these going 7. You just got to hope it's one that you're the higher seed. It's still only 5 games. It is still only 5 games, and I think, let's see, I can look this up. We probably have 2 more games against them. We do. One on February 4th and one on February 28th. One in Cleveland, one in Boston. You still have time to come back and get closer to this 1 seed, but you cannot keep letting these games just fall through your fingers. They got to lock back in. They gotta have that mentality that they did of last year defensively. I feel like they've been relying almost too much offensively this year compared to what they did last year. Whereas last year was a good 55 to 45 mix of focusing defensively more and then offensively a little less. I think this year you're trying to live and die offensively. It's like a 65-35 split. We'll just outscore them. We have more power. We will just outscore them. We will just outshoot them. But like you're saying, you know, like an average team shoots probably 32%, 33% from 3. Even in your best games, maybe you shoot up to 40, 45%. Still means you're missing over half your shots. And percentage-wise, those twos and those easy layups and those alley-oops and all that stuff defensively that you're letting up drop at a lot higher of a rate, and they just allow these teams to stay in it. And you see this Celtics team, whether they're up or not, they seem to always have a little stretch in a game where the shots just aren't dropping, whether it be for 3 minutes, whether it be for 13 minutes and a whole quarter in some. There's always a little stretch where the shots aren't hitting, shots aren't dropping like we want them to. And that's what's allowing these teams to stay close and get ahead of us. And then not only is it a game plan thing of defensively, the Celtics, we need to lock in. We're getting down to the last kind of minutes here. It's a mental thing of, okay, now we're playing from behind. And I just don't think they're used to that because of how much that they were up last year. And even at the start of this year, they were so used to being up and playing free. And now you got these games where it's staying close and you might have to come from behind. You might have to make that one stop at the end of the game and make that one shot at the end of the game. I just don't think they were as prepared for it as we thought they would be going into this year.
I just quickly, and I was thinking, defensively steals, but we've actually increased our steals over last year as a team. There was 6.8. We're at 7.1. And blocks, it was 6.5 to, well, there's the big thing. I'm sorry, steals are 7.5 to 6.8. Blocks are down 5.5 to last year's 6.6. So a full block, and again, points out to the effort and just those layups that last year we would have, Derek White, Jason, somebody would have contested, would have tried to make a block, and we're just letting it go.
Here's the thing. I don't even know if the steals and blocks matter so much as the points in transition. You can get your steals and blocks, but it's a matter of what are you doing with it. But you're right. If you're, less blocks, you're giving yourself less opportunities to get points in transition. I don't think that's where all of our defensive problems stem. I think it's the paint defense. I think we're guarding the perimeter from what I've seen, just about the same. Yes, you let up some frustrating threes, some open threes, but they were doing that last year too, just from ball movement and stuff like that. I think it's the paint. I think it's not being physical. I think missing Porzingis, he's only played, 8 games this year or something so far, is definitely hurting that. And whereas throughout the first, couple months of this year, we've talked about we don't think there's anything that the Celtics may need. I think coming on the trade deadline now, or coming up to it in February, I think now you have to look for a rim protector. I know you had mentioned this a while back when we were talking about like Ben Simmons or something like that, and he's not a sort of rim protector that you need. But no, I think you actually have to go and look for a big guy that you can put down there in the middle that can be there to protect the rim while Porzingis is gone, so it can allow Al Horford to still space the floor offensively and defensively for us.
Hey, here's another stat. Going back to effort, and you said your transition, basketball, our defensive rebounds are down 3 per game right now, 37 to 34. Offensively stays the same in the 10 area, but defensive rebounds, we're giving up 3 more a game than we did.
Yeah, that's effort. And that's also
yep. And if we're
those are missed
not
shots
getting
that you're
the
not
blocks,
jumping back on. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And these losses, the last game that you said against the Pacers, that's only an 8-point
9-point game.
9. Yeah. That's 3.
That's 3 defensive rebounds. It's 3 possessions. With the way that they shoot and only shoot threes, that is 3 possessions.
The Magic game was a 4-point loss.
I think the magic number is 3 right now. The 3 defensive rebounds. You beat the pace. You probably put that game into OT. 3 defensive rebounds. You don't lose to the 76ers on Christmas. You don't lose to the Magic, even without Tatum. Yes. 3 defensive rebounds, 9-point game against the Bulls on the 19th. You don't lose that game. You put that into OT. 3 defensive rebounds against the Grizzlies. That's a 6-point loss. That gives you 3 other opportunities. That's our magic number this year then. I think we just found it. It is 3 defensive rebounds.
We know ball.
We know ball. We are the media. All right. Before we move on from the Celtics here then, I want to look ahead at the next couple games. I don't think it's as easy just to write these off anymore as an undefeated week now. We really got to lock in with these. Our last game of 2024 today at 3:00 against Toronto in Boston. You got to think they're coming out angry for this one. Gonna be hot. I have them for a win here, but I want a good win. I don't want fucking 108-94. I want a 125-98 sort of smackdown to end the year strong.
I agree with you. It has to be a 20-point win, but we have to be in the 120s. Yeah.
Yep. Then on Thursday, a good test here in Minnesota against the Timberwolves. Now, I know I had been talking about this game for a while. 7:30, I think it's going to be on ESPN. While the Timberwolves kind of just moving along, 17-14 right now at the 8th spot in the West. Let's not forget this is a team that made the Western Conference Finals last year, and was my pick to actually advance to the finals. Yes, they made some trades this offseason with Kat and Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo coming in, and it seems to have kind of messed with the team a little bit, messed with the chemistry. But this is still a team that's dangerous, and they still got Anthony Edwards, and Anthony loves playing against us. He loves playing against Tatum because he knows those two going to be in the conversation for the next 5 to 10 years about the face of the NBA, and he loves to always show out against the Celtics. I don't know what happens here. I'm going to say if we get that 20-point win against the Raptors like we're saying, I think we lose this one.
Yeah.
If this game against the Raptors is close, I think we end up pulling out another close win against the Timberwolves. I think they're just going to go back and forth here. It really depends. I think they go 1-1, or they could go 2-0. But in terms of the wins that we want to see, it's going to be like 1-1 in our eyes. I don't know. Something screams Timberwolves stay in this game to me.
No, I agree. Unless, we can obviously Anthony Edwards is probably going to put up 35 points. If we could have some type of matchup against Rudy Gobert in which having him play out of the paint, guarding Al Horford at the 3-point line or some switches or something, getting him away, it's probably going to be a very high scoring affair on both parts, like a 131, 129 kind of game kind of thing. I think what they're going to do is let Anthony Edwards get his points and hopefully shut down Julius Randle and Gobert and everybody else. Just let Anthony do his thing and shut everybody else down.
Next set. Damn, this is a tough little, very tough stretch here.
It is.
Then on a back-to-back against the Rockets in Houston on Friday night. Houston, top 3 seed in the West right now, looking good, looking strong. But in terms of playing the elite teams, yes, they're better than the Timberwolves, I think, playing the West. But, we saw it in I think it was the NBA Cup, like semifinal or something, when they were playing the Thunder. When they play these elite teams, I don't think there's just enough experience in Houston. I think they're still a little too young. I'll have us pull that one out because of the fact that I think we lose to the Timberwolves.
I agree with you too. Obviously a good young nucleus, up and coming team, but yeah, we're an elite team, even though potentially the record shows it. We just wanted to see more in the record, and we thought we would have a couple easier wins, but yeah, we'll beat Houston.
Yeah, I see a win over Houston, but then I see us going back to the loss column, losing to the Thunder in Oklahoma City on Sunday.
Yep. I mean, we're right on, both of us. I was going to say a 2-2 week. Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Not what you'd like to hear as a Celtics fan. However, this is tough. This is a really tough stretch. Timberwolves, Rockets, Thunder, and that's not even including, which we'll talk about next week, though, after we see how they play this week, but that's not even including on Tuesday, 10 p.m. in Denver against the Nuggets. And then you finally have a breath of fresh air Friday the 10th against the Kings, who just fired their coach. This is a tough stretch. And if the Celtics are going to give their fans something to be happy about here and look forward to, I guess, it's putting on a show this week against the elite of the elite in the West.
And if we lose, it can't be a blowout. It's got to be a tight game. I'd rather, have a 4-point loss, which again goes back to those 3 possessions that we're not getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Bruins here, Dad. We talked about the Capitals game last week as we did our Christmas Eve episode. So move on. We only had 2 more games. Lost to the Blue Jackets on Friday night, 6-2. Thought that was going to be, a nice ass whooping. The first one for us, kind of as a fuck you for firing our coach. But as you had mentioned last week, I thought this was going to be, 2-0 against the Blue Jackets. You said if they're going to lose one, it'll be the one in Columbus. They do 6-2, but then you go on a back to Boston Saturday night, 4-0. You get your get back a little bit. A little bit. Yes, it's nice to get a 4-0 win. It doesn't excuse the 6-2 loss. Doesn't wipe it from our memory, but you did have Korpisalo in net for that game in Columbus, so maybe there's something to be said there. Because then on the back-to-back, you bring in Swayman, and he finally looks like himself, 18 for 18 save opportunities and 4-0 win.
Again, we said this. When we lose, we lose.
Mm-hmm. And when we lose, it's decided by the first 40 minutes we had mentioned. You don't need to play the last 20. It was 1-1 after the first, and then they put up 4 in the second. Bruins Twitter was so funny. I saw the tweet that they sent out after the second period where it was like 5-1, 20 minutes to go. Everybody in the comments was like, what the fuck did I just watch? They were like, what just happened? It took everybody by storm.
Yeah. And again, looking at the standings, I mean, we're still right there, third in the East or in the Atlantic, but that glaring difference of -14.
But finally, a nice thing to look at there. 6-3-1 last 10. I
Yeah.
think it's the first time we've been able to see something in that column that's actually been encouraging. Yeah, and like you say, only 4 points out. Still somehow only 4 points out of the lead in the Atlantic with the same amount of games played as the Panthers. Toronto has a game in hand on us. But the glaring one there is the Lightning with 4 games in hand over us. However, we still have to play them 3 times. So it'll be big whenever those. Oh, well, they're coming up in January, 2 of them. And we'll talk about those really when they get there. But I was seeing people already talk about on Bruins Twitter about you cannot lose those games against the Lightning. Not only just for our sake in the standings, but if you're caring about Florida and Toronto because you think it would be easier to jump them in the standings near the end of the year, you cannot lose to Tampa in these last 3 games. You have to beat Tampa to keep them far away from us. Look ahead at this week here. We got another, because I think was Monday a matinee game too? Did we talk about this? Against the Capitals?
Yeah.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we got another one today. But what a nice day for sports here. We got I might be able to have these on all day. You got the Bruins at 12:30. You got the Celtics at 3. And then you got college football semifinal, Boise State, Penn State at 7:30 today. Great day of sports right there. And then you go watch Ryan Seacrest do all of his things. Fucking ABC. All right. So in Washington against the Caps today, on Thursday at New York Rangers. Saturday, big game against the Maple Leafs in Toronto. Big game for the standings and potentially the game that allows you to jump them in the Atlantic standings. And then a back-to-back back in Boston on Sunday, 6 p.m. against the Islanders. Dad, what do you see for the rest of this week?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the stats. And one good thing that I see, there's a lot more pluses, even though the the differential's -14. Players are carrying more pluses than we've seen throughout the first couple months here of the year. What do I see today? I see us beating the Capitals. I see, even though, because Swayman will have a couple days off. Loss to the Rangers. We will, even though the Maple Leafs have kind of played us a lot harder, somehow we still pull it out because we are their daddy. And then we'll beat the Islanders. So I got what am I saying? 3-1 week.
I've learned from my mistakes on this podcast. I am not going to call us the Toronto Maple Leafs daddy until after the game. Last time I did that, they beat us like 4-0 earlier in the season. So I'm not doing that again. And I'm going to act like I didn't hear that out of you. We lose to the Caps in overtime today. We beat the Rangers. Beat the Rangers like 2-1 on Thursday. Going to be a great goalie matchup. Shesterkin and Swayman will play that one. Big defensive battle there. I think a 2-1 win in regulation. You play the Maple Leafs in Toronto, and oh man, this is big.
Corpusel is probably going to be in that.
I don't know if he is. I think maybe it's Swayman again, and then Corpuzalo plays the back-to-back on Sunday. Because
I'd rather like
even
that.
even if Swayman plays today, Tuesday, I think he plays against the Rangers Thursday. You get a day off, play Thursday. Get a day off, play Saturday. Corpuzalo on the back-to-back on Sunday. Corpuzalo probably also on Tuesday. And then you bring Swayman back for the Lightning on the 9th. Maple Leafs. You see, the Maple Leafs are interesting too because when they win, they win. You know, they'll put up 4, 5, 6 pretty easy. But if they lose, like us, they lose too. You know, just recently, a 5-2 loss against the Capitals. They beat the Red Wings 5-2, but then they lose to the Jets 5-2, lose to the Islanders 6-3. I'm gonna say, you know, this is gonna be different than the first game or the game a little while ago that we played against them that we lost 4-0 or something on the 5th. That was before Montgomery was fired. I think Sacco has the offense moving a little different now. I think the offense will be awake for this one. If the offense is awake and moving, they can put up enough on Toronto. I got them winning this one probably 4-2. This is gonna be in regulation as well. And then I think you lose to the Islanders on the back-to-back. This one will probably be in one of the losses, Islanders or the Caps that I have this week will be in OT, so I think we get a point from one of them. But I've got a 2-1-1 week.
All right.
All right. I think that's all I got about the Bruins. There's some more talk about, you know, they're urging to trade struggling veteran forward and Trent Frederick in the new year since he will be unrestricted after the season. Good multi-position forward, but his ceiling as a Bruin is a third liner. I think we talked about that already a good amount on this pod. Get what you can for Frederick. All right. You said before the show you had something that kind of maybe would have led into Red Sox. I'll let you have the floor here. Do it. Get to it a little quick, and then we'll get to college football.
All right. Well, so going into this brand new year that we have, our second year of doing this pod, I want to hear from you. What team do you see the closest outside of our Celtics that will have a good year into next year? What is the team that you're encouraged the most outside of the Celtics that you see competing?
I thought you said this was going to be related to the Sox.
Yeah.
Okay. In the East or the West, or does it matter? Like, who's going to give us the best run to knock us from the top?
No. Which one of our 4 Boston sports teams outside the Celtics do you see coming into the new year will be able to be that will be competing? May not be a championship, but what is the closest out of the 4 teams outside of the Celtics? Obviously, because we see them that you see is going to be competitive in 2025 in the new year.
All right, you gotta learn how to reword that because it sounded like you're just talking NBA. That was a fucking terrible question.
Sorry, it was going on in my head. It was going on in my head. I knew what I wanted.
The gears were turning. I could see. I mean, we obviously know it's between the Bruins and the Sox. Patriots aren't even on the table. And if you were to ask me probably 3 weeks ago, I probably would have said the Bruins, even with some of the inconsistencies and stuff, just because of the fact of how open that Atlantic seems to be still, and the fact that we were still just clawing around and still in third. But no, I think it's very easily the Sox. And this question would be so much easier to answer if it happens that we make the move and go and sign Bregman. I think it's easily the Boston Red Sox. Why?
I agree with you. I think that as much as the Bruins are hanging around, I think even if we make the playoffs, it's a first round knockoff. But yet, even if the Sox, which I think they will make the playoffs, and again, will potentially be a first round, you're gone, wild card, you're gone. But still,
I don't think so.
well, I don't, but I'm not saying a World Series for the Red Sox.
I am. If Alex Bregman signs with the Red Sox will win the AL East and they will be in the American League Championship Series. I'll say that right now. They are an absolute World Series contender if Bregman signs, and even if he doesn't, I think they easily win. They still win a round. They make the ALDS. I think this team, the pitching staff and everything that was improved. No, this team 100% makes the playoffs and 100% wins at least one series.
I mean, I'm with or without Bregman, yes. I think without him, I agree. I still think, okay, so we'll win the wild card, and then get into the divisional. It's funny how 11 hours ago ESPN says what you said last week, 6-man rotation. I think we have enough bodies to plug and play, to put in, to play matchup. Yes, we do need right-handed bats somewhere along the line. And you know what? Again, it could be Trevor Story. He could be that man if we can reduce some of that wear and tear in the field. So.
Yeah,
but I agree. I think the closest team is the Sox to having a very good.
Is the Sox?
Yep.
You mentioned ESPN with the 6-man rotation. This is why I wanted to just bring this up shortly. This was because Craig Breslow, I guess, had a Zoom session yesterday, just some media stuff. But here's the points that came from it. Still looking for a right-handed hitter. Open to adding to the bullpen still. Devers, as of right now, is staying at third base. They're not actively looking to trade Cassius. Open to the idea of a 6-man rotation. No meeting is scheduled with Sasaki yet, and Yoshida is expected to be ready by opening day with no statement on Bregman. And nothing about adding another catcher. It looks like it'll be Wong and Navarez for the year. All right. Last thing here, Dad. It is New Year's Eve. And that means a beautiful time of the year for college football fans. As we know, the good old New Year's Six, along with, I don't even know if you can call it the New Year's Six anymore because there's so many games that they have around this area. I'm going to go over the big ones here. And we're going to fly through these pretty.
Before we do that, let's get into the big bowl game that we both witnessed this last Saturday.
State and ECU. I mean, I don't really care to talk about it too much. We know what happened. It was a great game. Unbelievable run by Rajay Harris with 1:34 and 3rd and 10 to seal the game. 84 yards, I believe, 86 yards. And then a big fight at the end of the game. Going to be a fun lead up to week 1 of the 2025 college football season when these two teams face off again. But yeah, just unbelievable performance by the Pirates. I'm not going to lie. I woke up, my expectations were on the floor for the team, but I thought I saw this game that was going to slip away just like a usual ECU game would there late in the 4th. But, they get the interception at the end of the game to seal it by Dontavius Nash, who then ended up entering the transfer portal the day after.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I mean, along with a bunch of other people. But yeah, no, that one was big. I'll tell you the exact reason for it. If anybody's wondering how this game happened, I mean, you were looking at, with, let me see this. Where is this? 147 left in the fourth, 2nd and 10 for ECU at the ECU 14. NC State looking at a 92.4% win probability to jumping up to 90% for ECU right after that. And I'll tell you exactly what it was. It was the fact that there was one team in this game that treated this like a business trip, and there was one team in this game that treated it like a holiday trip. State refuses to believe that this is a rivalry, refuses to believe that these teams are close, refuses to believe geographically they're close, and that's what makes them rivals, along with the great history of the games between them, dating back to, not only this bowl game, but the 1992 Peach Bowl and all the games in between there. State refuses to believe that they should care about this team. They were not motivated. ECU was the more motivated team. They wanted this. State just kind of wrote it off as, like they were saying all week, that the little brother just beat you again in the postseason. I saw that fucking funny joke about it, actually. Not so funny, but as we know, Jimmy Carter passed this week. Somebody was like, 100 years old, but yet he never saw NC State beat ECU in the postseason because they refuse to take us seriously. And this is what happens when you don't take a team seriously. You end up going 6-7 and you lose to an in-state rival. They might not like that I'm going to say it, but that is an in-state rival. And now this team's got a leg up on you when they see you in week 1 in Raleigh. And I'm so excited for it, and I'll be there for it as well.
Just wanted to have you get that off your chest.
Yeah, no, felt great. All right. So
this
today. What?
This is disrespectful. Absolutely. Looking at this spread,
these lines, yeah, or this one. Alabama minus 15.5, over under 44.5 in the ReliaQuest Bowl at noon against Michigan. This is in Tampa. There's got to be something else that we're missing here. There's got to be some opt-outs or some shit. Because if there's not, I don't know. I mean, Michigan, weren't the best team all year, but 15.5 is quite crazy. Who do you got?
I mean, I'll take Alabama to win, but I think Michigan will cover.
Yeah, I do think Michigan will cover, but a lot of money has been coming in on Alabama. I guess the early line was Alabama minus 11.5 and has pushed it to minus 15.5. So yeah, I think Michigan, if they can control the ground game, kind of like they did against Ohio State, not going to give Alabama enough opportunities to get up by 15.5 points. And defensively, I don't know if Will Johnson is playing, but if he is, if you can kind of just contain Ryan Williams for Alabama, I don't think I see a way in which they just cover this. I don't think their head's there. I don't think they're trying to come into this game to show we should have been in the playoff. I think they're checked out. I really do. 2:00, Louisville at Washington. Louisville -1, over under 49.5 in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
Yeah, this has got to be another opt-out because it opened at 4.5 to Louisville. I still think Louisville would win, and I will take that 1 point.
Yeah, I will too. Regardless of opt-outs or anything in this line moving, I just strongly believe that Louisville is a better team than Washington. I haven't really believed in this Washington team this year. So yeah, I'll be taking the Cardinals. Next one, South Carolina at Illinois. at 3:00 on ABC. South Carolina -9, over under 49.5 in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
South Carolina is going to want to make a statement as to they should have been in the playoffs. Hot team going 9 points. That's a lot. It opened at 10.5.
I'm seeing 11.
Oh, I'm looking at ESPN here. I'll still take the Gamecocks, and I know it's probably dumb, but I'll hope that they'll cover.
I don't think it is dumb. I do. I think they are. I think they deserve to be in the college football playoff. I won't lie to you. I think they are a very good team, and that Beamer ball, they're gonna have them up. He's gonna have them ready. He's gonna have those kids ready to run here. And Illinois, 9-3, finished 5th in the Big Ten though. At 6-3, yes, number 20 ranked overall, but I've seen this team let down a couple times this year. Biggest one of which that I remember is Minnesota. When I bet Illinois to win because Minnesota was favored in that game. Thought it was weird. Vegas knew what they were doing. Illinois ended up losing that one when they play against Oregon at Oregon, 38-9 loss. When they play at Penn State, 21-7 loss. They beat up on the bad teams, but the good teams they couldn't compete with. And South Carolina is going to be a good team today. Give me the Gamecocks -9. 3:30. You got Baylor LSU. Baylor -3.5, over under 62.5 in the Kinder's Texas Bowl. Now reading this, I probably should have skipped this one. Who cares about this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a game where I really would like to see LSU. I would feel as if I'd put the money in LSU to cover. But I think this is one of those that Baylor could. I would just take the over.
Yeah. Sure, I'll take the over. It looks like Garrett Nussmeier for LSU is not going to be skipping this bowl as he has done previously in his LSU tenure. So if they've got their offense intact, I'll take them to put up some points. I don't know if they can win it necessarily because LSU has let us down a little bit this year, so I'll take the over as well. All right. And then Penn State, the game of the night. Penn State at Boise State. We talked about this last week and didn't know who to pick. Now we finally got to make a decision, Dad. 7:30 ESPN in Glendale, Arizona. Penn State -11.5, over under 53.5.
Yeah, again, another, I think, absolute disrespect. I'm going to take Boise State points, and I have them in my bracket. They will end up beating Penn State.
Yeah, I will 100% be playing. I'll be on Boise State +11.5. Way too many points. Man, it's a matter of, do I think that Boise State defense is going to look better than the SMU one did? I do think they do. And I think offensively they limit the mistakes. Maddox Madsen limiting some mistakes, not going to throw some pick sixes like that. That's why the game will stay close. It'll stay within the number. Boise State going down to Arizona a little closer. They're going to travel. Give me Boise, man. I don't know. Just give them. Yeah, I'll take them. I'll take the higher seed. I'll take them to show, to kind of give the middle finger to everybody else. This is why we got the bye. We are one of the best teams in the nation. Our guy should have been the Heisman. That's the big thing. I don't know. We'll see what Genty does against this Penn State defense. But if he can find his holes and everything, then it's going to be an easier Boise State win than I think we think it'll be. All right. Tomorrow, first games of the new year. 1 o'clock, Texas at Arizona State. Texas minus 13, over under 51.5. Tickets as low as $1,700. God.
Another, I think, disrespect on the points. I know Arizona State. I mean, it really, that 11-2 record, is it 11? I mean, is that you won your conference, Texas didn't. That's why you got the seed. But are you really a 13-point dog? I'll take Arizona State, the points, but I think Texas will win.
I'm taking Texas points and Texas to win. I discussed this last week. I'm not making the same mistake. Arizona State might be able to surprise a little bit. I think in the first half, but I think Texas just pulls away. If they play anything like they did against Clemson, this minus 13 shouldn't be close. Ohio State at Oregon, 5 o'clock, Rose Bowl. Ohio State still favored by 2.5 points, over under 55.5. Oregon. Money line. Leave the points at the door. Don't need them. Give me Oregon. And then same situation happening. The late game, 8:45, Notre Dame at number 2, Georgia, in the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Georgia -1, over under 45.5.
Notre Dame.
Leave the points at the door. Give me Notre Dame. Give me the Irish. I don't care about this feel-good story for Gunnar Stockton. This is going to be a Notre Dame game. I can feel it, and good. Let's get Georgia out of this playoff. I don't care to see this team anymore. I'm getting kind of bored of them. Getting kind of bored of seeing them in college football playoff games. Be nice to have a new face. And then last one I just want to go over here, Dad. On Thursday, our only bowl game of the day, the Gator Bowl, I feel like is big enough to bring up. Duke at number 14, Ole Miss. Technically not, but in Jacksonville, Florida. Line is Mississippi. Ole Miss -17, over under 51.5.
Is Jackson Dart playing?
I don't see anything about him out, but I would assume Malik Murphy for Duke, who's already in the transfer portal, is probably not playing. I see. Jackson Dart opt out. No, he will play.
Yeah. I mean, 17 points. I don't know. I mean, I would love to see Duke keep it close. I don't think they'll win. But not having Malik Murphy, who really did a lot for your offense. Let's go with Ole Miss and the points.
Yeah, even with the opt-outs and everything, I'm still wary of these line. But without Malik, I don't see how this Duke team competes in this game. I don't know who else would be in there. Is it Grayson Loftus maybe? Is it, Henry Phelan the fourth? I don't know who this guy is. Rent Monty, probably this guy. He's got the most run at the start of the season. Senior, 6'3", 210.
I mean, Duke is going to have to run
look that. Yeah, I don't know. This guy. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, maybe that's the only thing. If you're running the ball, run down the time, you try to keep it close. But I still think Ole Miss probably gets this done. Because of that, though, I think Duke's going to be running the ball, run the clock. Give me the under for sure here. But I'll take, if I had to take a line here on either side of the spread, I'd take Ole Miss. All right. And that's all of them, Dad. Just perfect timing, right when we wanted to end it here, right at
Perfect.
9. Great stuff there. You got anything else to say here before I get us out?
No, I mean, obviously, again, I think I said this before. This is not our anniversary show, but it has been an absolute blast in 2024 to do this 52 episodes, and can't wait for 2025.
Yep, 52. That's crazy. Now, granted, we have stacked up on some weeks.
The
We
first
did earlier the first week, and I don't think we have since.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that's why. So our next one, technically our 52nd, would have been next week, which would make sense because then the 14th, I think, is when we started. That would be the full year. So you get an extra one for 2024. That's fun. But it was a blast here in 2024 doing this. We can't wait for the new year. We appreciate all you guys listening, and just excited to keep it going. 52 in, and can't wait for the next 52. So thank you guys so much for listening here. As always, if you would like to get in contact with us outside of the podcast, make sure to follow us over on social media. A New Era Podcast on Instagram, A New Era Podcast on Twitter, A New Era Podcast on Facebook. And if you'd like to email us any questions, concerns, or funny business, A New Era Podcast at gmail.com. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you in 2025. Enjoy the last day of 2024. And we'll catch you guys next week in a new year for episode 53.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad.